My sweetheart, thank you for your beautiful, beautiful little note. And let's just hope, to be patient. And remember, it could be even worse. I am not scared, and I do my little duties as much as I can. I sleep longer and go to bed later and try my best because I'm still a free bird. I'm not in the camp that any moment I can be in the guest chamber. So I'm not scared. I have freedom. I can go outside and do a little, my backyard, whatever. And I can even take my car and round around, And so the main thing is to be patient and stay busy. And that's all to it. We'll make it. If it's only a matter of time, and we shall see.
That is the voice of Sonia Warshawski. She left a voicemail for her granddaughter, Ellie Court, about COVID. We shouldn't be scared. More on Sonia Warshawski in the next swell. 63% of the people in the U.S. born after 1961 don't know that 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. I think that's largely due to the fact that only 15 states in this country are required to teach the Holocaust. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to talk about. Why do we teach history in general? What's the importance of understanding what happened in the past? How does it inform what we do in the future? Why is it important for us to understand that there were gas chambers, there were crematoriums, there were millions of people with tattoos on their arms who became cattle and no longer had their humanity? Why is this important? Because we see every day around the globe history repeating itself. There's something so beautiful when you speak with Sonia Warshawski, because she is a Holocaust survivor who is a symbol of resilience and also a symbol of joy and a symbol of practicality. When she speaks, you realize what really matters. Here in this Swellcast, we have a chance to talk to not only Sonia, but her daughter and her granddaughter. And the way we're going to work this is I think we're going to use the Swell interview as a way to hear all the voices. It might still be on one Swellcast channel, either it's Ellie's or Regina's, but you'll hear that the voices are very different. You'll get to know Regina's voice, you'll get to know Ellie's voice, and of course, you'll get to know Sonia's voice. I want to welcome the three of you here to Swell. I am so grateful for your time, for your generosity, and for the fact that Regina and Sonia, you have been going to schools and to prisons, and you've met with people face to face, and you've been so generous with your time to sit and discuss some of the most difficult topics around just the vulnerability we all have when we are faced with evil. And what is evil? And Sonia, I'm sure you will talk about what that word means to you. There's also a film I want to make sure everybody knows about called Big Sonia, made by Sonia's granddaughter. And I'm going to link bigsonia.com here to this Swell so that all of you have a chance to link to the movie, to link to information about all the resources available, the education campaigns, how you can donate. I watched Big Sonia on Amazon. It was incredible. It was so moving. So I guess I want to offer a question to all three of you to answer in your own way, which is, can you speak about the importance of learning about the Holocaust? Why should people learn about the Holocaust?
Hi, Deborah. Thank you for including us on Swell and featuring Big Sonia. For everyone else out there listening, I'm Ellie Court, one of Sonia's granddaughters. To answer your question, Deborah, Holocaust education is so important because it highlights the dangers of prejudice and discrimination. It also shows how some people survive such extreme situations. Hearing a firsthand account of something so traumatic has an effect on people, and it's something they never forget. Anyone who has seen Big Sonia remembers the message Sonia mentions to put love in your heart. So those are just some ideas of how Holocaust education could be helpful. One link that I'll put out there is the Midwest Center for Holocaust Education. Anyone can go there and check out other survivor stories and material that is great for educational use on Holocaust education.
Studying the Holocaust is extremely important because we don't want it to happen again. Imagine Germany. What caused a sophisticated, educated country to create killing factories to murder Jews and other people they decided were subhuman or undesirable? I think that history in general is fascinating and important because it gives us a perspective and tells us, or at least helps us understand, why we are where we're at today. And if we don't study the Holocaust to try to answer questions that allowed Germany to get to the point where they were able to produce these, what I call killing factories, then we know it could happen again. And there is so much hate and misunderstanding and divisiveness today that I think we need more answers as to why this happened than we ever did before. By the way, for those of you listening in, I'm Regina Court, Sonia Warshawski's daughter.
Hey, Regina, great to hear your voice and Ellie's voice. I'm going to hold off on asking the next question because I know that Sonia's going to join us Friday night with her answer to this. And I think it's important enough to wait. So hold on and have a beautiful evening. And please know if there's plenty you can just reply here if you have more thoughts to say on this particular topic, because it's such a huge one in terms of why learning about the Holocaust is so important. So if you have a midnight thought, just come back here and hit reply again, and we'd love to hear it. So looking forward. Thank you so much.
Here's a quick update about Sonia. She's got laryngitis, and we are going to wait until her voice is in full bloom again so we can speak with her. And that's the beauty of this platform. We could just put it on hold, and when Sonia feels better, we will resume. Thanks for your patience, and I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
My name is Sonia Warshawski. My maiden name was Grünstein. I come from a town, very famous town later, because we had big factories of brushes which was going all over the world. What I would like to say to the world, when I came out from this terrible hell, which no one who is really, normal to ever grasp, even if I went to see in Washington, the museum, and really everyone should go and see it, but the Holocaust survivor goes in with different eyes. They did a marvelous job, but it's impossible. When the survivor looks on, it is impossible. This is the reason I feel when I came out from this hell, I could not talk about it for a very long time. And so you can imagine, from my hometown was 18,000 Jewish population, we only 200 survived. There are some survivors, probably whatever hidden, I don't know for sure. But all in all, when I, one day, to go back to that, you say that you call it now when our soldiers come back, you call it the guilt of survivor. And you cannot talk for it a long time. But one day, when I heard on the radio from Germany coming the skinheads, and saying it didn't happen, it was really like a thunder came to my mind. I said, well, what is the reason I have survived? When I was in that hell, what I have seen. And when people sometimes even they knew they're going to die, and they will tell us, if you make it, tell the story to the world. But I don't know. I'm very disappointed, to be honest with you, because there's still voices, it didn't happen. If my duty in this world, I came to me, instead, a lot of times people won't write books, I decided this is my mission, to speak for those who didn't make it. And I would like to tell you, I was so young, I didn't have the whole education, but reading history, I started when I was a young girl with my brother. So my message would be to the people in the world, especially the younger generations, in all the schools, to learn, teach history. And it's very important. How many times I used to say to students, don't follow the crowd. Educate yourself, and then decide what is right and wrong.
You have to finish it up.
And what I want to say also, after seeing children going to the gas chambers, mothers putting their lives on the electric wirings, and my survival is really a miracle, I want you to know. The beatings what I got, and be also shot in the day of the liberation. I was liberated by the English. What I want to say to the world, what are we doing to ourselves?
10 seconds.
We're only visiting this beautiful planet. We should respect each other in. I would give a message to this world to take away the hate, love each other, and respect. I also would like to say that it's very, very important for mothers especially to raise their children as long as they can. I feel the future generation is up in our hands. And I believe the mother's love is the highest love in this world. When I go back, when I came into the first camp after the ghetto, which they call it the Sodom Gomorrah of our ghetto, when I finally wound up with my mom and came to the first, deadly camp, also Majdanek. By the way, I would like to mention, if people don't know, that the most deadliest camps were on the eastern part in Poland. Hitler did not put any gas chambers on his own soil. As I give you an example, I was liberated in Bergen-Belsen. People were dying. There was only one crematoria, not a gas chamber. You can imagine, even when the English came in, it was they would never dream And I have to point it out. I have even some pictures. And the greatest man what I admire is our General Eisenhower. General Eisenhower brought all his, important people from our army to see for themselves, for history, what could take place in the 20th century. The highest, culture, Germany and Austria. What I'm coming to this, decision that the worst of the worst in the world is propaganda. Propaganda which was used by Hitler, by Stalin, and by Mao. And listen again to him talking to the world. Please wake up. Instead to hate, respect each other. We come from the same thing, we go away. It doesn't make any difference, religion or color. And the same thing come going back even in the schools. It's lacking also respect for the teachers. If I would have to say and tell you, I would have to say 3 days, and it will be not enough. What even in the history, they will not tell you what I witnessed and what I came to conclusion reading history. What I want to say again, watching babies going to the gas chambers. When it's so busy, I was very close. My barrack was very close from the crematoria, 2 crematorias and gas chambers. One day when I picked up many years ago the Life magazine, I could not believe it. Our boys are flying over the biggest camp, as you know, was Auschwitz-Birkenau. And Mengele was the main one who was doing all the selections and all what they did on us, the experiments. Even now people don't realize when you go by even a Bayer's aspirin, this was all what they did on us, the experiments. And other also medicines, which you cannot blame the doctors, to go ahead and look what they did on us to find out to heal other people.
Sonia, you are a life force. Your words, every single syllable you speak is a testament to your spirit and your survival and your wisdom. Being someone who has survived and is a living testament to not only what happened, but what's happening today, and our inability to be able to hold the crystal clear realities that happened back then. They mutate over time, and that's one of the biggest tragedies of our time. I have a question for Ellie, who's standing with you right now, and then I'd like to have you answer as well. But for Ellie, how does it feel, just as a granddaughter, to know that there is a distortion of history, and that your grandmother is a living, breathing voice, but it's not the loudest voice in the room, and we have such distortion and such vitriol and hatred around this false narrative. How does it feel to you to be able to have your grandmother speak her truth? I'm assuming it's very moving. I just want to know how you feel in this moment when you listen to her talk, and then when you're done answering that and letting us know how it feels to be her granddaughter, frankly, and being able to give her this platform. But the second thing for Sonia, hello. It's so nice to talk to you. I'm glad your voice came back. Is for you to talk about the memories you have, and insofar as your memories are your fire, they breathe life into you, they breathe purpose into you. Are there some memories that you feel like you still need to tell us? And just know that we can hold them here. So if you have specific memories that you want to share in multiple swells, we are just here to bear witness and to be with you, because your stories are more meaningful than anything else, because you are a living, breathing angel in our midst. So anything you say is important to us. So thank you, Ellie, for answering, and thank you, Sonia, for answering.
Hi, this is Ellie Court. To answer your question, Deborah, I can't even describe what it feels like to be the granddaughter of a Holocaust survivor. For one, I'm thankful every day to be alive, and for my grandmother to be alive, to be able to tell her story on a daily basis. It's just to be able to hear a firsthand account of somebody going through something so traumatic is not the same, obviously, as reading a book about it or watching a movie about it. So when you hear her story and you're sitting across the table from her and listening to her, it affects you in a way that is very different, and it changes your life and how you view life and how you interact with other people. Every time she tells her story, when I hear it, it's as if I'm hearing it for the first time again. That's how impactful it is for me.
I would like to meet her, please.
And I really value the fact that she is educating people constantly about it and going and speaking to different groups, and the groups are varied from, school groups to churches to synagogues to... She's spoken to the FBI. She's spoken, obviously, at prisons. So she's really trying to get her word out. And in terms of propaganda and fake news, this just fuels the reason why she wants to get the word out, and why my mother wants to get the word out, and other family members want to continue to talk about it, and teach others, because again, like, hearing a firsthand account of somebody's tragedy is more impactful, and you learn more from it than if you were to read about it in a textbook or watch a movie about it. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, go ahead.
I would like to mention a few things which people will never realize. In the beginning, we did not know that we are going to gas chambers. People could not believe it. And I would like to mention something which helped us to stay in longer in hiding. My daddy had a friend who was doing business with him. He was a Polish Christian. And he said, when the war broke out, he said to my father, I'm going back to my village where I was born. And one day, you wouldn't believe it, the ghetto was still an open ghetto. He could enter. And he came, and right away he said, please close the doors. I have a very important message to you. Remember, when they come to round you up, you are going to die. And he explained exactly what was taking place. That helped us in a big way right away. My mama took some money that each one of us. And by the way, when it came the day, a lot of things I have to tell you that people don't realize. I'm coming again, mentioning the eastern part of Poland. The deadliest camps were there. Babi Yar, and all of the others, hell no. I cannot even believe to tell you. I only want to tell you that if you're talking about 6 million, we have thousands and thousands unaccounted, because, in geography, we had a lot of big forests. This is the reason a lot of our, what they fought in the forest, the partisans, which they are not really getting enough credit, what they accomplished. But I want to tell you, when they put us in those trains, like herring, you couldn't move. And suddenly we didn't know why our train was standing on a station. And here are people are dying left and right, children, babies. And I can tell you, in this, cattle train was just a small little window with wiring. I shall never forget in my life, I was standing on dead bodies, I was very short, and I took out some money and just squeezed out my hand outside because on the station there were Polish people, men working, and I was praying to God that He'll may hand me some water. Some were very mean, they wouldn't give it to you. I was lucky. The fellow gave me a canteen of water. When I took the few sips, until today I don't remember if my mama was able to sip some little water, because people became like animals, you can imagine. And I can tell you, dying from thirst is the worst death in the world. So what can I tell you? There is so much in the history that will never be told, and they don't know the truth. Because, again, people should read up, even the latest fellow, I forgot his name, and he is from France, a priest, that he went later to find out. And he found out that people would never know in the world what they did to us in the Ukraine there. They were even have alive bodies. They still, after they put all the, they were still, you could see the earth was, moving. Whom can you tell in the 20th century what they did to us? And this can happen again. Remember, the way we are going, it's not the way I see it. I hope I'll be wrong. Anyway, what I would like to tell you, finally, we felt that our train is derailing. We're supposed to go to Treblinka, and I tell you, we found out there were so many trains for, So we felt we are derailed, and we found out because Treblinka could not kill the people fast enough, and trains were still standing. So our train was derailed to Majdanek. And I can tell you, please read the book. Was one, he was with me also. It was a long train. And what do you think was sitting on the train? The Ukrainians, because some already knew that we're going to death, and some jumped over some men, and they were shooting. It is unbelievable. Finally, what I want to tell you, I know I have to rush. We arrived in Majdanek. When we arrived in Majdanek, they already waited for us. Half of us already probably dead, and they still was the first selection we learned to right or the left. My mother was only 42 years old. And this time when we came, I was with her for, several months. We were in Bergen-Belsen. Majdanek. A matter of fact, I want to tell you, Majdanek was a horrible camp. It was only one crematorium, one gas chamber. This was just across in Lublin, and if you read history, just across when the Polish people were living there. And then denying it didn't happen. Didn't they see the smoke? Didn't they smell all this? Anyway, going back, so we finally went to the right, and they took us, all away, the clothes and so on and so on. And being there, I have to point it out to you. Mengeles hub was usually in Auschwitz-Birkenau, because Auschwitz-Birkenau was the largest, deadliest camp. When I arrived there, it was only 4 crematoria. Then we worked building the roads, in the biggest one, the 5th one. So going back here to Majdanek, when we arrived in Majdanek, there was not any latrines, only big holes. And you can imagine, and we were carrying the feces to fertilize the fields. And even working in the fields, I still remember a SS woman on a horse and a long, thing to
Whip?
Yeah, big, yeah,
Whip.
beating us, and schneller. Sometimes we were counted twice a day, and sometimes for no reason we would say hours, just to wear it out to kill us. But I want to point it out to you, several things, what I witnessed also many hangings later in Auschwitz too. But this was our first experience. I shall never forget. 2 girls were by my age. They tried to escape, and they got caught. And still today I remember like 2 SS women and those 2 girls carrying the little stools to be able to the ropes, to reach to the ropes. So when we came from the outside, we noticed that something is different. We had to stay in a big square, and watch how they will be hanging. I shall never forget, my mom just turned her head and she got a slap from the SS woman that we have to see it, watch it. And their voices are still ringing in my ears before they died. They spit on their SS woman, and they were saying in our language, never forget and take revenge. This was their last words. Their corpses were lying several days for us to see. If you dare to do it, that's what's waiting. And then later they took him to the crematoria. And another horrible thing what I want to tell you about, especially this is, I was testifying about one. This is really, if any woman in the world you would think can do such horrible things, it's unbelievable. She was a killer. She was always coming with 3 German shepherds. I have even a picture of her because it's, anyway, what I want to tell you, if she caught you, if you didn't go out the day, out to work, you better were hiding under the barracks. If she caught those girls, she would dump them to death in those ditches, as in that, holes. So you can imagine. She would go, for example, like I mentioned to you, counting for us twice a day. And she would go beside the woman what who was counting, and I always try it. I have to say to you, if I wouldn't use my 6th sense, I probably wouldn't be here. And I never want to, they're all counting us in 5s, and I try to be not in the middle or in the back. If she saw you, that you are not standing up straight, and you don't look already good, she would put those German shepherds on you. What I want to mention about her especially, another thing before I go any further about her. This was the place that one day, as I mentioned, that Mengele mostly his hub was Auschwitz-Birkenau. I don't know why it was already, fall. I remember a sunny day, already cool. We had to take off her old clothes naked outside, and he was performing the selection. So you can imagine when I came up with my mom, he put my mom to the left, me to the right. And I knew I wanted to really step back with her, but the other SS woman was pushing me again to the right. I have to say about my mom, again specifying the love of the mothers is the highest in the world. If not her, I wouldn't have made it there. Because I came up with, I forgot how you call it, a terrible disease, and the women were dying back and forth, This was like you go to the rest, finally, I forgot how you call it. Anyway, if not her, I wouldn't have made it. So you can imagine when this happened, what they did. The ones who they already for the left, they kept it in the same field. And the ones to the right where I was. In the camps, whenever you heard a siren, you knew there is something they don't want us to see it, which we saw anyway. So you can imagine, like God want me to see my mom for the last moment. When I heard this, I knew that something is taking place. Like God was rushing me to the big door from the barrack. Luckily there was a little, a peephole. And what do you think? I saw in the whole long row with other women, I saw my mama holding with another lady, I'll never forget, from my hometown, which I recognize too. You can imagine, I fell apart. The next day, they put us on the trains and we arrived to Auschwitz-Birkenau. When we came to Auschwitz-Birkenau, we walked from Auschwitz to Birkenau. Later on, they put a train to kill the people faster. It is really, I could sit with you 5-6 days and tell you what the world will never really know, what actually really happened. What is really very disappointing is that the world knew, and please remember that the Germans already were all over, took all over, not Europe, and they were even we had girls from Greece. We had girls from all over each country, friends, whatever you can mention, from the history. And I can tell you, there was times it was very easy to commit suicide, especially the women from more higher upbringings, the culture. They were not as strong as the Polish. We Polish women were stronger in a way because of the climate. We could take those terrible big, horrible winters. And so every morning it was very easy to do it. Just put one finger on the electric wiring. And my thought, maybe they were heroes, but I refused. I myself was something that fired in me to fight back as much as I can, to fight, to hang on. Don't ask me why. I did not, I refused not to go to the gas chamber. How many times I put my life on the line, which I didn't care, I would rather be shot. I cannot tell you everything, because it's impossible what was going on. You can imagine how many times I walked close to the crematoria, and they would bring open trucks with ashes from the crematoria, and we were putting them on the fields for fertilizer. How would you feel even among the ashes? Some of the little bones were still, they couldn't even be completely gone. What can I tell you more?
Finished
A hell?
Liberation. talk about
the liberation, I was liberated from there after being in Auschwitz, and after going on the death march, finally I wound up in Bergen-Belsen. So anyway, I want to mention that in Auschwitz-Birkenau you lived, that every moment later maybe you'll wind up in the gas chambers. You never knew where they're going to do the selections. It is impossible. I could sit with you, maybe meet you sometimes, that you will, I can tell you things that you will not see in any books. The only thing what bothers me, I have to mention to you, how many of them are still around. For example, one day when, somebody at our door ring the bell, and I see from the FBI but two men.
Where were you?
Right here, I'm talking already after the war.
So you were in Kansas City?
I want to talk about the woman, what she was.
But where were you living at that time? They need to know where you were living.
Here in the United.
Were you in Kansas or were you in New York?
Okay. No, in Kansas. Yes.
She was living in Kansas at the time.
Yes, already when we came here. I just want to mention to you how it came upon that, her name I still remembered. We had a special name in Polish for her. Like I mentioned to you before, she was the most horrible. You will never believe in a woman can be such a beyond, I cannot even find the word.
Just say what?
A murder. So anyway, one day, and I see I answer the ringing, and I opened the door, and there were two from the FBI. They came in, and I'll explain to you. They knew the record was there in Washington from which camp he was, and so on and so on. It is very important for people to hear how many got escaped. And this is, they tell me, please, we know you was in Majdanek, and we want to know, before even they started to ask me, and I said, listen, well, they were sitting down, and he told me that, asking me if I remember a woman, what she was really a horrible, murder. And I said right away with a smile, I know it from whom you're mentioning. He said, yes, we knew you was in that camp, and they told me the story, you wouldn't believe it. One day, from our camp, survivors, two ladies, went to a bakery in Brooklyn, New York. And you wouldn't believe it. Who is standing and selling the goods? Hermina. They were very smart. They didn't let on anything. And they went straight to the FBI to report it. This is the way they told me. How she came to this country? She married a GI. And they told me, we have the right to deport her right away because she was lying, coming to this country. I want to point it out to you. I know there are so many of those SS women survived coming here that no one knew who they were. And even the GIs probably didn't know. I want to also point it out for history, in my opinion, what really happened. Because our boys, what they were fighting for this cause, for this World War II, it's unbelievable. And a lot of people, how many of grandchildren and grandchildren I speak, they came home, they couldn't even talk about it either. But what really happened, of course, naturally, after the fighting, they sent them home. And then we got the other people, the other young men, when they sent them back to Germany, they did not see all of those horrible things. And they had a good time with the German women, I'll be open with you. And this was a big, big difference. Till today, when I speak to the great-grandchildren telling me how their grandfathers never could talk about it.
You want to keep talking? Okay, go.
Yeah, I want to point it out in Bergen-Belsen we were surrounded with all around like walls and walls with dead bodies because one crematoria could not take care. So you can imagine. But anyway, when the day came of the liberation, I'll never forget, April 15, 1945. That day, I was working in a little, peeling barn. And I will have to rush because I cannot tell you exactly. I only know when the men start running and to grab all of the Bruderbaker, even with the dirt. And he still was there, one of the SS who was taking care. And he had the guts already seeing the English are coming, and he started shooting. And then that's the time I got shot. And it entered 2 inches from my heart and came out through very close to my, lungs. And the same bullet hit other 2 girls, lightly wounded. You can imagine how I felt that moment. I right away didn't know what happened, and finally when the blood started coming out from my mouth, I knew that I am dying. I was talking to the Almighty. I said, my God, after what I went through and now I have to perish, I could not accept this. And meanwhile, one of the Russian, from the men's camp, he picked me up, and like he said in Russian to me, he said, before you die, I have the pictures, or the English took it, and I saw Kramer was the one in charge of the Bergen-Belsen, the SS men, standing, and the other all SS women, and with their hand up, and he was saying to me in Russian, before you die, look, the liberation. So anyway, from then on, it's unbelievable. The first aid I got from an English doctor, they took us outside, you can imagine, April was still cold, on the ground, and he gave me the first aid. And from there, we had to, when the English came, it was a terrible disarray, because the greatest epidemic of typhus was there, and they were also scared. By the way, if you know who survived there, is one from, what was her name, famous, Frank, Annie Frank, yes, she died there. And so you can imagine, they did not know how to even go by. All night, I'll never forget, with the other wounded people, I was in an empty barrack lying on the floor until the next day they took us. And then from there, they had to close. Matter of fact, as you know, Bergen-Belsen, they burned down completely. While we were there, I can tell you, the English tried to bring the people around where they're living close by, and all of them, as you know, the night, it's not true. And when they came and they saw it, there was one mayor and his wife went back home and they commit suicide. See what their brothers and sisters did to us. What can I tell you? From then on, thanks to the English,
You have 30 seconds.
they finally had us move from there. We went completely naked, and then we went through showers, and we had only a blanket when we came. And the ones like myself who were wounded, they turned all those buildings from the SS, and they made some hospitals, and some of the others, they are still all right, and they were also living finally.
Sonia would like to recite a poem that she wrote when she was, one of the poems that she wrote when she was in the hospital recuperating after all that she went through.
And later on too, which I did not even translate it yet. Okay, I really would like to read one which exactly you'll feel how I felt and what I saw. I was liberated from Bergen-Belsen on April 15, 1945. On that day, I was wounded by a bullet that cut through the left side of my chest. While in the hospital, I wrote several poems in Polish, this one of them the way it was at Auschwitz-Birkenau. And this is really the way I saw. I witnessed, and my tattoo number is 48689. And by the way, it's unbelievable that my social security number starts with 486. I want you to know. In the dusk of the night, what a terrible sight. 5 chimneys are blasting fire. Can this be real? Look up to heaven, and you will see black clusters of smoke growing stormier and darker. Destination heaven is their marker. Oh, you big planet Earth, can you hear? How much more tyranny can you bear? I witnessed and wondered, will I be spared to tell this tragic story of our people's suffering and perish glory? I can still hear their cries and the winds whispering the last words of the Shema. How I trembled while spreading their ashes on the fields. Oh Lord, will you let the murderers prosper from their bloody shields? I pledge to you, my people, we shall never forget and never again go sheepishly to such a terrible death. We pledge your innocent flesh blood will not be in vain. Let us carry on this motto, never, never again.
Thank you so much for sharing that poem, those last words, particularly. We are hearing your voice. It's landing in our modern day minds. The torch is being passed to us to carry on the story, your legacy, honoring every word you shared with us. And I hope for a continuation of our walk towards grace and caring and loving and a sense of understanding that will guide us all. And it starts with individual lives like ours and yours together in this moment, witnessing, hearing. Thank you so much for your time, Sonia. We love you on a cosmic level. Ellie, Regina, we hold your family so close to us as storytellers, as people who want to make an impact and have purpose and make sure this does not happen again. And I hope in our small way we're contributing to the urgency and the gravity of Sonia's life, purpose, and every time a person hears stories of the Holocaust, they are given the gift of bearing witness and knowing that knowledge in this case can yield way towards compassion and a deep sense of purpose to never allow us to go down such a horrific path again. It starts with every individual and how we treat each other. So may we all take a deep breath and be in this moment, which is uncomfortable and yet so familiar to those of us who choose to be awake in these terribly troubled times that are always in living in a parallel world with extraordinary beauty and possibility. So here's to being in 2 places, 3 places, 10 places at once, but making room for all the complexity. Opening this up for conversation. And much love to all of you.
I have a really great appreciation for this post and these perspectives. I am not Jewish, but I went to predominantly Jewish schools throughout my education, and especially in high school. And many of my friends, were Jewish. And because such a large population of the school was Jewish, we had Holocaust education as part of our curriculum, of course. And we actually had Holocaust survivors speak when I was in 10th grade. And I will always really remember that experience for many reasons. But I think one of the things that Holocaust education does for us is it shows us the best that human beings can be and the worst that human beings can be. And the reason why I say best is because I think of when I've heard Elie Wiesel speak. I've seen him speak in person before he passed a couple of times, and I've seen other interviews that he's done. And it's amazing to me how in the midst of seeing the worst that human beings could be, that he emerged from that experience and demonstrated the best that human beings can be in his forgiveness, in his, discussion of the importance of, taking care of one another and being good people. And that was so inspiring to see someone come out of an experience like that and not be bitter, not be filled with hate, but actually transcend the experience. So I think, it's a cautionary tale. I know that there were others that were killed during the Holocaust because it was basically, from my understanding, all of the groups that were marginalized in society became victims in the Holocaust, from intellectual leaders to artists to black people. So I understand that it had far-reaching consequences beyond just what most people think when they think of the Holocaust. So I do agree that it's really important for us to understand and study these more difficult periods in history to see both the best that we can be and the worst that we can be, and to understand how to walk a path where we're not being the worst that we can be.